ఆ చదువులమ్మ నేరుగా ప్రతి ఇంటి గడప చేరగా మీ భవితకే భరోసా దూరదర్శన్ వేదికగా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వ సహకారాలే ఉండగా హాయిగా మన చదువులు షురు అదే డిజిటల్ గురు.
Hello children, how are you? Welcome to today's English digital class. Today we are going to take up an emotional poem written by Rabindranath Tagore. The title of the poem is My Mother. Before that, let us look at the objectives of this session. You will be able to make an effort to read the poem individually, collaboratively to comprehend it. Appreciate the theme and features of the poem. Try to guess the meanings of the unfamiliar words. Construct a poem on the theme given. Now children, let us look at the video. Now children, try to answer these questions. What do you see in the video? What is the theme of the video? Whom do you love, mom or dad? Why do you love your mother the most? Students, in order to know the feelings of the poet in the poem My Mother, let us read the poem My Mother. It is written by Rabindranath Tagore. Before that, let us look at the meanings and its usage of some words. Surely, small white or orange flowers that bloom in autumn. Hover, remain in the air. Scent, perfume or good smell. Hum, a hummed tune created orally with lips closed. Okay children, open your textbook and read the poem My Mother individually. Children, when you read, follow these directions. Read the text silently. Put a tick mark for the lines you understood. Put a cross mark for the lines you didn't understand. Put a star mark for the lines you like the most. You can underline the words that you don't know their meanings. Dear children, let us look at the video of your friends reading individually.
I cannot remember my mother. Only sometime in the midst of my play, a tune seems to hover over my playthings. A tune of some songs that is used to hum while rocking my cradle.
Okay children, I hope that you have read the poem and comprehended it. Now sit in the groups and discuss the poem. Remember the following points while you read in groups. Take turns and at a time. If you do not understand, you may take the help of your friends or teacher. You may use the glossary and refer to a dictionary. Okay students, let us watch the video of the students doing group reading.
I love my mother because she says that she wants me to have good education, better life.
I love my mother because she teaches me cooking and other thinkings and helps me in studies.
I love my mother because she always bears pipes and does hard work for my studies and well-being.
I love my mother because she is a hard-working, caring and loving human being.
I love my mother because she sacrifices many things for us.
I love my mother. She goes to work and helps my father.
Okay children, I hope that you have understood the poem. Now let us know more about the poet and the features of the poem. Rabindranath Tagore. He composed India's national anthem. He received Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his collection of poems called Gitanjali. Tagore wrote primarily in Bengali but translated many of his works into English himself. Tagore's writing. Tagore's writing is highly imagistic, deeply religious and imbued with his love of nature and his homeland. His works are classics renowned for their lyrical beauty and spiritual poignancy. His poems are actually song texts as he composed a melody for them. The musical aspect of poems is at times lost in translation. Before reading, let us look at the Tagore's childhood. Rabindranath Tagore was born in Calcutta in a wealthy and prominent Brahmin family. His father was Maharishi Debendranath Tagore. His mother, Sarda Devi, died when he was very young. Her body carried through a gate to a place where it was burned, and it was the moment when he realized that she will never come back. Tagore started to compose poems at the age of 8. The world speaks to me in colors, my soul answers in music, said by Rabindranath Tagore. Now children, let us know more about the poem. So, let us look at the first 5 lines of the poem. I cannot remember my mother. Only sometimes in the midst of my play, a tune seems to hover over my playthings. A tune of some song that she used to hum while rocking my cradle. Now children, let us see the summary of the first 5 lines. In the first 5 lines, poet says he cannot remember his mother and he tries to recall the face and features of his mother. When he looks at his playthings, he seems to be able to hear a tune perhaps his mother used to sing as she rocked him to sleep in the cradle. Now, let us look at the next 5 lines of the poem. I cannot remember my mother, but when in the early autumn morning the smell of shiolai flowers floats in the air, the scent of the morning service in the temple comes to me as the scent of my mother. Now children, let us look at the summary of these lines. Poet says he cannot remember his blossoms in the air which are used for morning service in the temple. Poet senses that scent of flowers as the fragrance of his mother. Perhaps his mother used those shiolai flowers for worship. Okay children, let us look at the next 5 lines of the poem. I cannot remember my mother. Only when from my bedroom window I send my eyes into the blue of the distant sky, I feel that the stillness of my mother's gaze on my face has spread all over the sky. Now children, let us look at the summary of these lines. Poet says he cannot remember his mother, but when he looks out through the window of his bedroom, he stares at the blue sky and feels his mother's gaze spread all around the sky. Now children, let us look at the features of the poem. It's a poem using imagery as poetic device. Poet described his mother's presence in tunes of his playthings, in fragrance of shiolai flowers, in the image spread all over the sky, and so on. Now children, let us look at the appreciation part of the poem. Poet created sensory stimulation including visual imagery in the poem. Now children, I am going to ask you a few questions. Try to answer those questions. How does the poet feel the presence of his mother? Children, let us look at the video of the student answering the question.
The poet feels the presence of his mother in the tunes that hovers over in playthings and in the scent of the flower in morning services in the temple.
Now, let us look at the second question. What do you understand from the statement, I cannot remember my mother? Now, let us look at the video of a student answering the question.
The speaker says, I cannot remember my mother. It shows that the speaker's mother died when he was very young.
Now, next question. Does the poem convey sadness? If yes, pick out the suggestive expressions. Now children, let us look at the video of a student answering the question.
Yes, the poem conveys sadness. The suggestive expressions are, I cannot remember my mother. In last 2 lines of the poem, mother's gaze spread all over the sky.
Dear children, try to answer these MCQ questions now. When in the early autumn morning the smell of shiolai flowers floats in the air, the scent of the morning service in the temple comes to me as the scent of my mother. Which smell reminds the poet of his mother? Smell of shulai flowers, smell of autumn leaves, smell of morning service in the temple? Both A and C. I cannot remember my mother. Only when from my bedroom window I send my eyes into the blue of the distant sky. Where did the poet look at? Blue sky, bedroom window, blue sky. Which of the following activity does not remind the poet of his mother? Humming a song, praying in the temple, looking at the image of his mother, gazing at the sky. Now children, let us look at the recapitulation of the poem. In this poem, Rabindranath Tagore eloquently reveals the emotional bonding that the poet had with his mother. It makes us realize the great impact the poet's mother had on him at his tender age, for the poet recalls his infancy and school days, etc. Okay children, now we have read the poem, discussed the poem theme and discussed the features of the poem also. Now let us try to write a poem, My Mother, and before that I will give you a poem written by me. You have to complete the poem in your own words. Let us try. My mother, my life, my mother, my guide, and so on. Try to complete this poem children. Okay children, let us see the recapitulation of this session. You have read and comprehended the theme of the poem. You have learnt the meanings of some unfamiliar words. You have attempted to add lines to the poem My Mother. Now children, let us look at the video of a student answering the question.
I love my mother because she is a hard-working, caring and loving human being. I love my mother because she teaches me cooking and other things and helps me in studies.
I love my mother because she says that she is illiterate, so she wants me to have good education, better life.
I love my mother because she always paints and does hard work for my studies and well-being.
Okay children, I hope that you have enjoyed the class. Happy learning. Bye bye.